Chris James here, and today we've got a special guest. We're going to be doing an interview with Ken, and his situation is unique. It's something we haven't touched on at all, so I'm really excited to get into this. He's been dealing with epilepsy for the past 25 years, and we're going to be talking about how fasting has changed his life forever. So it's a very, very exciting topic. So look forward to that in 1 second.
We're missing a piece of the puzzle.
You start getting healthy and you just become a better person.
We need to start focusing more on the individual.
All right, Ken. So this is the first time we formally met. So I just want to kind of get to know you a little bit, get some background information. When did you first start experiencing this, the epilepsy or the seizures?
Well, I had a head injury when I was about, it was back in '93. So, had a head injury that ended up putting me in the hospital basically for about a month. I was in a coma. Brain swelled up so bad that it basically shut me down. So put me into a coma for about a month. After about a month, they had kind of given up on waiting for it to go down by itself, and they scheduled surgery to drill a hole in my head to relieve the pressure. And within a couple of hours of the surgery, it just stopped on its own. Stopped on its own and went down. So I got spared the extra hole in my head anyway. But like I said, I was pretty much dead to the world, minus my vitals, I guess, for about a month. So when I came back around, it was learning how to walk again, learning how to talk again. They were telling all my friends and family that if I did ever wake up, that I'd never be able to speak in complete sentences again. Within about 6 months, I was back at college and getting things taken care of. But it was all medication, basically. After I came out of the hospital, went back to life and ended up starting to have seizures every now and then. And so I went to see the doctors, and they sent me to the specialists, and the specialists decided, well, I know they mentioned the ketogenic diet like 25 years ago.
Wow.
But they're like, well, but that's a lot of work, and we'll just go ahead and put you on these medicines to go ahead and control your seizures. And, well, they put me on Dilantin and Depakote. Depakote made me kind of fat and lazy, and Dilantin seemed to have the least negative side effects. I ended up going with that one, but they kept on trying to switch it up as new things had come to market. So, I got a new epileptologist, and he decided that he wanted me to go on to something called Keppra, and I went on to that, and it kind of made you into, it kind of turned you into an asshole. Pardon my French. But it turned into not such a nice person. Later on, found out that people were starting to call it Kep rage. So it's like, I couldn't be the only one that was having that effect. So I got off of that one. He put me on to one called Lamictal as a secondary medication to Dilantin that I've been taking for 25 years now. That drug was it was not good. I could tell right away that it was affecting my mood, my attitude. Did enough research to read that once you're on that drug, you're pretty much stuck on that drug for life. I weaned myself off of it instead of going through with how the doctors wanted me to, stay on. Oh, just bear with it. It'll be fine. Don't worry about, they never want to worry about the side effects.
Right.
I think, was it one of your videos that said there really aren't any side effects? There are effects of medication.
Absolutely.
They're just not positive effects.
Right. Exactly.
And so I took it upon myself to say, no, I'm not doing that one. And then the most recent one that they tried to add was, I believe it's called zonisamide, but it had the effect of screwing up your speech to the point where, as I was trying, let's say I was trying to talk to you'd have to search for that next word, and it kind of made you sound like an idiot. So
right.
I'd go ahead and get off of that one, and I really started looking at ways to go ahead and try and take things into my own hands, basically. There had to be some way to get around all these medications, but it couldn't be something that, just not natural to have to take a drug in order to not be, going floppy all the time.
Right.
So, and that's when I came across the healthy alternative and your videos and the water fasting, and I did a lot of research into the, into distilled water, basically the miracles of water in general, and decided, well, when I was in that coma, I'm sure they were throwing all kinds of drugs at me, and over the last 25 years, they've been pumping me full of all these toxins. And so I think it was that very day, I just said, well, I'm going to give this a shot. And so I started my water fast. I kept on taking my meds at the time. And after about, I was doing just fine on it through 2 days. On the third day, after I'd taken my medication, I ended up puking it up. So I ended the water fast at that point in time. But in the meantime, I had done a lot of research on the ketogenic diet, because, water fasting puts you into the ketogenic state and starts having your body produce ketones. And that's what it sounds like to me. I'm no doctor, no expert, but from what I understand, basically your body switches over from burning sugars to burning ketones, which are produced from fats and proteins.
Right.
And your body can more efficiently use the ketones than it can the sugars. And sugar is kind of like Western crack, I guess.
Yeah.
Your brain can run on it. It's kind of like trying to run a car on straight alcohol or something. No, from what from how it seems to me anyway, it seems like at least your brain can't seriously or efficiently use it in order to bridge those neurons and things like that. So you said after coming off of the fast, I just basically went down to 1 meal a day type of system where I was eating once a day. But also really limiting my carbs and, concentrating on the fats. I love cheese. I love avocados. I love all the food is really awesome. People think about it like a starvation diet or something, but it's, it's just your body using what mine apparently believes to be the appropriate food sources. So, since I started doing that, started really feeling a lot better physically after about a week or so. At that point in time, I went ahead and cut down my meds from 700 milligrams a day to about 500 milligrams a day, and then started kind of skipping a dose here and there. And after about a week and a half, I was thinking, gosh, when I started this was almost exactly 2 months ago. It had to be beginning of June. And at that point in time, I was doing it just purely for trying to cure myself of epilepsy.
Right.
And so I might have had a few extra pounds, I guess. I was up around, I'm 6 foot tall.
Okay.
I weighed just over 200. I think I was tipping the scales to about 205. And, didn't really have all that didn't look like that much weight to lose anyway. But after a couple of weeks, I weighed myself. I don't have a scale at home, but I weighed myself at my folks' house, and my weight had dropped from 205 down to 170 in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
Something like that. And like I said, I didn't have much fat to lose to begin with, but just really started feeling better. And like I said, after going from there, I went ahead and just I dropped my meds all completely. I cut them down from 700 milligrams to 500 milligrams a day, and I stopped driving so that if I did end up having a seizure, I wouldn't hurt anybody.
Right.
And, really feeling good. About 5 days into it, it was a day where I was real active. I laid a tile floor, I mowed the lawn. I was actually walking a couple of miles over to a buddy's house to go and visit with him to kill some time. And on the way over there, I ended up having a seizure. And now I woke up in the hospital. Somebody called me. I actually had my seizure right at the interstate, pretty much. So somebody had called the ambulance. They'd taken me to the hospital, but I had waken up before they had thrown any medication at me.
Good.
My experience over the last 25 years is that anytime I had a seizure, when I did come around, I just felt like total dog. I just felt really bad for, up to a couple of days, just really drained, tired. Sometimes I'd sleep for an entire day. When I woke up at the hospital, I actually felt great. And it was the strangest thing, because I ended up calling my folks, and they came down and got me. They're real nice that way. And I ended up staying the night at their house that night, just so they could keep an eye on me, because I told the doctors, well, I've been experimenting with this ketogenic diet, and I just came off of my medication. And they were like, well, we want to just go ahead and give you some of the medication that you usually take, so that it doesn't happen, another one doesn't happen. Well, I've got some of that medication at home. You're going to charge me about $400 or $500 for the same pills that I've got at home.
Yeah.
And if I take them now, I won't know for sure. I'm right back to square one. I'm back onto the medication. It was, in my opinion, one or two things happened. First possibility is that day I ate like a whole bag of almonds. I mean, I usually snack on them, you know, as a snack type of thing. But I ate probably 30 carbs or more just in almonds that day. I mean, I sat and really pounded down a whole damn bag of them. So I thought, well, maybe I had too many carbs, or maybe that medication is finally working itself out of my system, and that was a withdrawal effect of the medication. And you know, it kind of got me to thinking, well, if it's an effect of the medication that when you're coming off of it, you have a seizure, how many seizures did I have over the past 25 years that if I would have just stopped that medication altogether, I wouldn't have?
Right.
So I've stayed with it. That was Monday that I ended up having the seizure. It's now 6 days after that. And so that means it's been 11 days since the last time that I had any medication.
Wow.
And I couldn't miss 2 doses of medication before I ended up having a seizure. So
That's incredible.
I know that's a long, long story, but I hope I didn't bore you with it. And that's pretty much been my experience with it. So
Okay. Well, we'll have to do a little backtracking because there's a couple questions I wanted to ask you, but I wanted to let you get your full thought out. When you originally had the accident, do you believe that what caused the seizures to begin with, and I'm asking you what your opinion is, was it the swelling of your brain, do you think, that caused them, or do you think that it was the medications and the things that they treated you with while you were incapacitated?
well, now that's kind of I don't know that it's what they treated me with when I was incapacitated. I can't say for sure. I'm sure they were pumping me full of all kinds of goodies that my body didn't normally have in it. It was maybe 6 months after that I started having seizures.
Okay.
And from the research that I've done, it does tend to confirm the fact that at times a head injury can cause the onset of epilepsy.
Okay.
Which I just threw myself into, open arms into the arms of the medical community and said, "Yeah, fix me."
Yeah.
Like I said, if they don't seem to be real concerned with your quality of life.
Right.
Now, like I said, the dilantin didn't have real harsh side effects on it as far as making you into too much of a difficult person. But coming off of them, I was just amazed. It was like I'd been living in a fog for 25 years. I mean,
Wow.
constantly just felt kind of like, you ever have it when you're sick with the flu or something like that, and you kind of get that just brain fog. It almost had that same sort of brain fog without the other physical effects.
Right.
And I just, believed that, this must be just how I am. And,
Right.
25 years worth of it after coming off of the medication, and all of a sudden my thoughts are clear. I've got more energy than I've had since I was in high school. It's truly been a miraculous type of an event all the way through, to tell you the truth. So.
That's amazing. It's sad that, you know, you had to deal with that for so long, obviously. But I think your story is so powerful because, you know, people think that they've been a certain way for so long. And like you said, you pretty much had accepted it. It is what it is. And it doesn't have to be that way. In my personal experience, and it's, you know, I call it a rain cloud, where basically I was always just, I was in a mood. You know, that's the best way I can explain it. I was just in a mood. It wasn't a good mood. I wasn't necessarily angry or you know, lashing out, but I just felt not happy. And all I did was just change my diet and start incorporating some fasting. And I just became happier. And I also noticed that my thinking became more clear. I was able to see things that like, one of the things a lot of people notice is relationships that they have with other people. They'll notice things in the relationship that's always been there, but they never saw it before. So you might be in like a toxic relationship, and all of a sudden you start thinking more clearly, and you can see like things wrong with your relationships. One of the things you said that I thought was very interesting was that one of the drugs made you have a, you know, kind of made you mean. And that's interesting because when recently I started learning about how our emotions work. And one of the things for me personally was my emotions just seemed all over the place. Like I'd be upset for no reason. And I learned that our emotions are tied to the chemistry in our bodies. So when the chemistry is off balance, our emotions are off balance. And that's kind of where the bipolar comes from. You know, people say it's a mental disorder, but it's not. It's a chemical imbalance. So I thought that was very interesting. And also, you know, the fact that you brought up that there are no side effects. It's just effects, unintended or, you know, I don't know. I don't know if the pharmaceutical companies do it on purpose or not, but there's effects of the drugs that are unwanted. A side effect doesn't exist, you know? So
Exactly.
that's amazing. I mean, I feel like you're on a road now to true healing, because after 25 years of doing it the traditional way, I mean, you pretty much are worse for the wear. I mean, so in 2 months,
Oh yeah.
taking control of your own diet, taking control of, you know, your own health, you've been able to make progress that you haven't seen in 25 years. So now you've been,
Yeah, if anything, I was going backwards for about 25 years.
yeah. And it's crazy because I'm sure you had friends and family who were like, you're crazy for like, did you experience that where you had friends and family telling you that you were crazy for doing it? Do other people know that you've been fasting and changing your diet?
Now that's where I've got a sister that is actually on the ketogenic diet, but she does it she's just kind of a health food nut.
Okay.
But she's also an anesthesiologist assistant, so she's dealing with doctors all the time. My dad's a child psychologist, not psychologist, not psychiatrist.
Okay.
Psychiatrist, they go ahead and prescribe pills. Psychologist tries to deal with things behaviorally. So
Right.
that's probably where I'm a little bit luckier.
Right.
As far as that went, but they're both big trusters in the field of medicine and the you know, the knowledge of the experts and their expertise. And if anything 25 years taught me was that they have no better idea most of the time of what's going on with epilepsy anyway. But it's all theoretical, and all they're doing is pushing what drugs are known to be anticonvulsants or anti-epileptic drugs, and they find one that makes somebody more or less be able to manage their life. And they say, all right, you're just going to take that for the rest of your life. And they don't look to try to fix the underlying problem. And at this point in time, I don't know whether or not my epilepsy is completely fixed. I do know that my body runs on these ketones that my body's producing way better than it ever did on any of the medication. And
Right.
I know that I feel so much better and so much safer right now than I have in 25 years that I am going to make at least one more doctor's appointment so that I can go back and tell my doctor. But I want to wait until after it's been a couple of weeks from that seizure so that I can say, hey, I told them don't give me any of this medication. I didn't take any of this medication. I stuck to the diet. I stuck to my I don't know if I'd call it even one meal a day anymore. It's more of an intermittent fasting type of thing. I usually eat from about 1 in the afternoon up until about 7 at night. So I give myself about a 6-hour eating window, and then after that, it's pretty much strictly the distilled water. I keep track of my carbs. If I've kept them real low all day, maybe I'll have a handful of almonds or something like that. But sticking to the whole foods, and like I said, the effects have just been nothing short of miraculous. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
you get up every day and try and be grateful first thing off for a little while. Go over my mind, the things I'm lucky to have, and go over what I plan on doing for the day, and live on.
When you very first contacted me and you told me a little bit about your story and what you were doing, I was excited for you because I was thinking in my head, wow, like you're about to transform your life forever. And then getting, that second update, I think it was second or third update, and hearing that you were completely off your medication and you had been going for a couple of days without it and you hadn't had problems, I was so excited for you. It's one of them things where it's like you've been taught that there's nothing you could do for so long, and then all of a sudden it's like, nah, you can. And I'm a very strong believer in being able to heal yourself of anything. I think that the body is designed to heal from whatever disease, whatever ailment, whatever injury, if given enough time and if given the proper environment. So hearing stories like this just kind of confirms that, and I hope that, other people who are hearing this are encouraged. It doesn't matter if you're dealing specifically with epilepsy or some other disease. I'm sure you thought for a long time that you would always be like that. So there's other people out there who are like, man, whatever I'm dealing with, I'm always going to be like this. And it's not true. It doesn't have to be that way. But it takes you believing that you can heal yourself. Because if you don't believe that you could do it, then you won't. You'll fail. So I was kind of curious.
One of the things. I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject real quick. One of the things I see on your Facebook page, the A Healthy Alternative Facebook page, a lot is, I'm going to try to do this, or I'm going to try to do that, or I'm going to give it a shot. And if you go into it with the attitude that you're going to do it and not the attitude that you're just going to try it, going into it with the attitude that you're going to try something gives you an automatic way out where, well, I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And I tried, and it just didn't work out. Whereas if you go into it with the attitude, hey, I'm going to do this, and not give yourself that excuse to give up.
Absolutely.
That, like I said, I went into doing the water fasting the day that I had watched some of your videos, and I did it without any kind of preparation, any kind of this, that, or the other thing. But once I got going and figured out that I was going to transition onto the ketogenic diet, I went through my whole house, and I bet I gave away $300 worth of food. I mean, pastas, breads, all the processed foods, all the things in my house were just super high carb.
Right.
It's like, oh, can't have this, can't have that, can't have this. And it was truly amazing to see how carb dependent, I guess, we are just in as far as Western society goes. I mean, corn is in everything. High fructose corn syrup, one of the worst as far as the ketogenic diet goes. Grains, so you're looking at cereal, you're looking at oats, you're looking at bread, you're looking at tortillas, you're looking at pretty much anything that I had in my house. I ended up, like I said, boxing up and taking over a friend's house. And, you go ahead with this. And, went ahead and did my research as to what things I actually should be eating. And it's made all the difference in the world. And the other strange thing, or thing that I think is strange anyway, is that as you get onto a ketogenic diet, and with me anyway, I just give myself that 6 or 8 hour eating window. But the more that I eat ketogenic diet friendly meals, with all the fat and stuff, that fills you up and makes you feel, your body runs on that fat so much cleaner than it runs on the sugar. It's just, it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. The eating window, and I want to get into your regimen a little bit more. But before I forget, I was curious because I get this a lot in the group.
Just one sec, Chris.
Okay.
I wanted to go ahead and let people know that I did get a healthy alternative shirt.
I see that.
So
looks good.
But I noticed that my chest wasn't in my camera view here. So we'll go ahead and make a little adjustment so that I can get your all a healthy alternative.
There it is. It looks good, man. I got mine on too today. But
yeah, there you go. You're better now.
I was wondering what did it take? First of all, I thought what you said about going into it, not trying, but going into it with the mindset you're going to do it. That's huge. So I wanted to know, what did it take you mentally to decide to stop taking your medication? Because we've got people who are on insulin, we've got people who are on all these different medications, and their doctors have convinced them that they need the medication to live, pretty much. What did it take for you to get to a point where you were okay with, cutting the medication in half, and then eventually just saying, you know what, I'm going to go without the medication altogether?
Well, it definitely wasn't the doctor's advice. I haven't been to see the doctor. I still haven't been back to the doctor since I had that seizure. They pretty much had me convinced, hey, you're going to be on this medication for life, like it or not. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and it's going to be hard on your liver. It's going to be hard on your gums. It's going to be hard on this, hard on that, hard on the other thing. But, you won't have any seizures. So just learn to deal with it. And it just takes, I'd say it takes really getting into that, and I'm going to call it a conservative lifestyle, to where you decide to take charge of what's going to happen to you, that you take responsibility for what's going on with you. Make sure that you don't hurt anybody else.
Right.
You figure out what is actually best for you, and you go ahead and take accountability for it. And, I think it was just one of those things where after a while you get so sick of basically seeing yourself as a victim. I had developed, the victim mentality that so many people today have. And it's it's all the fault of, for me it was epilepsy's fault. For other people it's the white guy's fault, or it's, whoever's fault, but Trump's fault. There's a lot of that one going around. But when it comes down to it, the epilepsy never really did anything to me other than make me have seizures.
Right.
The doctors really never do anything, intentionally to hurt me or anything like that. So it's all these people trying to help. But I want to mention there was a man that back in college, I had a class that was a criminal justice college class, and it was about drugs in the criminal justice system. And it was, I'll give him a shout out. It's been 25 years, but Dr. Doug Wagner was his name. And the only thing that really stuck with me about his class was he came in, and he was a gentleman that works with people getting clean off of heroin for years and years. But one of his first statements to the class was that there's only two ways to learn something. Number one, by doing it yourself, and number two, by taking somebody else's experiences and learning from those, by what they told you. And that basically the most important, the most sacred decision that you can make in this life is what you put into your body. And that basically nobody else should be able to make that decision for you. Now, doctors have it on authority. This is what you need to take. You need to take this. Take this, it'll fix everything, make everything better.
Right.
But again, at that point in time, you're doing nothing but trusting their word for it, their experiences. And I, in good faith, believe they're being taught what they were taught in school. It's nothing they're doing or intentionally. I'm not trying to mislead anybody. And I'm not saying that anybody should go off their medication without consulting with their doctor and working with their doctor on it. I knew that they weren't going to approve of me taking myself off of the medication. For the last 5 years, I've been fighting with my doctors, trying to get into a study on CBD. That it's the University of Nebraska Med Center has going it's a study on CBD oil and the effects on epilepsy.
Yeah.
But wow, there's something that I can actually get onto that would be, possibly a great improvement.
Right.
I don't know how much you're familiar with the the research and stuff as far as epilepsy goes and the ketogenic diet. But the keto diet's been around since the 20s and was developed for people that were having epilepsy issues. And it's just nobody looks at it, and that's just the way it is in the in the country, basically. So
Right.
I'm hoping that some people, those that can afford to do their own research and find out for themselves, and those that have the mental attitude that they can go ahead and do it. I can't say that it's something that you should discourage yourself from. I think the sweatshirt, I got one of your sweatshirts too.
Okay.
That I got, I did have them print on the back. One of the other designs that you can choose from to update your shirt. I did have them put on it some to the effect of you'll never know unless you try. Now that kind of goes against my don't say try. But if you don't decide to do it, basically,
Right.
You're just gonna go ahead and it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy that you will be on medication for the rest of your life because you're never gonna get yourself to come off of it. So I keep on rambling on.
No, you're not. You're not rambling. It's all good information, and I think the thing people really enjoy about watching my interviews is that people that I talk to they're really personable. You give us a lot of detail, how you feel, and all of that stuff is important because, like, if you come on here speaking, using all this terminology people don't understand and talking about all these different studies and everything you researched, it's like, okay, I mean, we could go anywhere and get that. Doctors and all these experts, they're always talking above people, and clinical research this and experimental study that. People don't, that doesn't resonate with people, it's like we're sitting down, we're getting to know each other, and that's perfect. I love it.
Well, that's what was driving me. I'm sorry. That's what was driving me crazy about that CBD study was I kept, like I said, it's got to be 5 years ago that they mentioned they were going to have this study. And I told them, hey, I'd really like to get into that. And they gave me an enrollment thing, and I filled it out. And I said, all right, we'll put it in there for the applicants. And then a year or so goes by. Well, what's going on with that study? Well, I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and update your information and stuff, and we'll pass that on, and we'll find out. And then, it's 2 or 3 years later that all of a sudden they're saying, well, so what's going on? Are you gonna ever let me use or try that study, or what's going on? And I said, well, that study is for a different kind of epilepsy. That's not for your kind of seizures. Your kind of seizures, it's not going to be helpful for. And I said, well, if you're not doing the study on my kind of seizures, how can you tell me that it's not going to help me?
Right.
And they said, well, that's what the study is for. And I said, so in order to get into that study, you're saying it's for people with uncontrollable seizures. So do I stop taking my medication so that I can start having seizures?
Right.
And then, oh, no, we'll never put you in it if we know you stop taking your medication to get into it. I'm like, so basically you're just letting me know that, yeah, we're doing this study, but we wish we hadn't told you about it because we're not going to let you into the study. You know, we've found a way to manage your symptoms through the use of these medications that'll keep you coming back to us forever and a day.
Yeah.
And my God, Chris, they implanted something called the vagus nerve stimulator into me. Okay, vagus nerve stimulator is basically a pacemaker hooked up to a wire that they run up into your brain. And so they go ahead and they cut you open, insert this pacemaker thing, cut you open in the chest or in the throat, insert a wire up into your brain and connect that with the body of the device and tell you, well, you know, that should sense whether or not there's going to be any kind of what we believe to be seizure anticipatory feelings in your brain, and then it'll go ahead and basically give you a slight electrical shock for a while to keep those from happening.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So it sounded good anyway, right? So they had me, well, my insurance anyway, spent $120,000 on getting this thing inserted into my body, but they wouldn't let me try the CBD treatment. They didn't even, I swear it's been since my first appointment with a doctor for epilepsy that I have heard anything about even trying a ketogenic diet to try and fix the problem or to control the problem that way. It's always been, no, you know, that's kids, but I got pretty frustrated with the medical community as far as that went.
That's mind blowing. Like, to be honest with you, I've always been the type that stayed away from doctors. Okay, so I'm not familiar with some of the things, the procedures and things they have available to basically cut you open on both ends and insert this device inside you. That's just, man, that's mind blowing. And then they say that fasting's extreme and crazy. Like, really? You know, like they'll mutilate you, and that's fine because the doctors are doing it's a procedure and that. But for you to just say, hey, I'm gonna cut back on my eating for a couple days, that's extreme and that's crazy and that's dangerous. I mean, one false move and they could have killed you, you know, inserting that device. I mean, that's just wild to me. And obviously the fact that, you know, they don't want you taking something that could possibly heal you. That's the first, like, I've seen a lot of studies where people have published papers on devices or procedures that would heal certain issues, or at least treat them in such a manner to where you would only need maintenance every 15, 20 years. And they shut that stuff down. There's so many different treatments out there that are a lot better than what we use now. I mean, you still got to get maintenance and stuff with this, but at least it's like, oh, I come in once every decade, get a procedure done, and then I go off and live my life. You know, it's better than having pills every day.
Well, they added this implant to me, but that was something that they wanted me to use in conjunction with the pills. You see, you got to keep on taking these pills. And
so the device, I mean, does it work? I mean, not really.
I haven't got. I couldn't tell you.
Right.
Like I said, I've been trying to figure out it for so long. You would think that before you said, okay, let's go ahead and take you and cut you open in a couple places, stick a wire up into your brain, and go that route. Maybe, you know, you want to try a different diet for a little while and see if anything like that might help. But didn't ever even enter their minds. So,
wow.
I still don't know that I've come off of my medication. I'll wait until I've, you know, more fully substantiated that I can take care of this without their help.
Right.
And then I'll go in, and I hate to even pay for another doctor, but it might be worth it just to go in and educate the experts.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
To that one.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to get, because people are going to be asking specifically, what did you do? What are you eating? Can you get into some of the more intimate specifics of how often did you fast? What type of fasting you were doing? And then just give us a couple examples of meals that you eat.
Sure. As far as the fasting goes, like I said, I made it that first 58 hours before I ended up throwing up my medication.
Okay.
After that, you know, I was stuck on stupid as far as being convinced that the medication was the reason that you're not having your seizures. You better keep taking that while you try this alternative method of healing yourself. So you better keep on taking those. So I had the seizure, but I kept it down to, or excuse me, I threw up the medication, but I went to at that point in time, when I did eat, I'd go ahead and basically take my morning medication, and then with my evening medication, I'd eat a small meal.
Okay.
Just so that I didn't know if it was the meds on an empty stomach or what it was, but I thought, well, as long as I throw a little food on top. But I started, I started right away with eating. I'll tell you my favorite meal right now is, you know, those big portobello caps.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and buy a package of those. Now I'll pick the stem out of the middle to where it's just the cap. And then I fry up a little bit of sausage or bacon. And once that's done, I stuff the inside of the mushroom cap with it. And I'll go ahead and melt Gouda cheese or blue cheese or something like that. So I'll stuff the mushroom with usually sausage. Cover that with the cheese, throw that into a frying pan, and by the time the cheese melts, the whole portobello cap is all nice and mushroom, you know, and that's that's enough for a meal for me easily. One of the main things is that I believe it's the fat. If you keep that fat going, that fat's what your liver ends up turning into ketones, which are what you're. I guess it's funny you mentioned cancer earlier, because some of the information that I've come across has been real positive as far as helping people with neurological disorders like epilepsy and MS and things like that. But one of the other things I came across was that cancer cells can't burn ketones.
Right.
And so, since they can only burn sugars, if you don't eat any sugars, there may be a chance that can actually, start the cancer. So,
Yeah.
got everybody so convinced that they need to go through chemotherapy and radiation and all kinds of other things that are proven to be so terribly hard on your body. But they don't ever, I know nobody has it mentioned to them, hey,
Right.
why don't you go ahead and water fast for a couple of days? And then when you do eat, go ahead and go onto this ketogenic diet. Hey, Buck. And no, we'll go ahead. You know how expensive chemotherapy is versus a bag of avocados
Yeah.
and some steak.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my most favorite meal. But I eat a lot of salmon. Salmon's really good for you. It's got high fat in it for a fish. No carbs in pretty much any meat. Don't eat processed meat. I stay away from the processed stuff. They've basically pumped it full with preservatives and stuff that ain't good for you. But I eat a lot of smoked meat and things like that when I'm eating. I love to, usually around 1 o'clock or so at the beginning of when I'm going to start eating for the day. Excuse me. Usually I'll go ahead and cut an avocado in half, and I'll take a couple of tablespoons of sour cream and just coat the top of my avocado and knead it out of the skin with a spoon. Love avocados. Other times I'll put, instead of the sour cream on it, I'll put either cream cheese, blue cheese, Gouda cheese. I eat a lot of cheese. When I'm, that's one of those things that those two are probably my two favorites, other than the like I said, the occasional smoked meat is always good. But what else? I guess those are the main things. Some spinach, spinach leaf salads. Spinach is good as far as being high in protein, relatively low carb. Tomatoes, cucumbers. Basically, above ground vegetables are almost all ketogenic friendly. Because you've got, relatively low carbs with them. You end up getting a good amount of dietary fiber with them and stuff. So, and then as far as, I also drink quite a bit of coffee, but if you're gonna drink coffee, it's not a big deal with the ketogenic diet. But if you're gonna use creamer, you need to make sure to stay away from half and half, or the low fat milks are just not good for you. But you can get the heavy cream, the actual real heavy cream from the milk, and that has got carbs, but it's got like 5 grams of fat per tablespoon or something like that. So I just put a tablespoon of that in my coffee, and that's really a good taste. That and stevia. Stevia ends up being a sweetener that, it has no carbs in it. So you don't have to worry about it screwing up your ketogenic diet or anything like that.
Right.
And I also, I think I posted on your Facebook healthy alternative thing yesterday, a posting of what I've been doing is, I drink a lot of distilled water. I ended up getting a countertop distiller. That was a great tip you had on one of your videos.
Yeah.
I know I only had to pay, I think I found one for $55, but I have distilled well over 100 gallons of water with it already.
Yeah.
And it costs $1 a gallon at the store.
Right.
But those water flavor enhancers, just a couple of squirts in the water. They've got a stevia-based one, and so it basically isn't anything that is going to screw up your water fast or your ketogenic diet, but it gives you, it gives you that Kool-Aid taste. That's kind of nice to have now and then.
Have you
tried? I'm sorry.
Have you tried the sun water? Have you seen that video?
I love that, and I do try and put some out on the porch and get that going. But I go through water pretty quick.
Yeah, when I very first started, I had 6 gallons. That way, I could drink 1 gallon every day, but it would end up being outside for 6 days. So, and I've noticed that as my taste buds have gotten more clean, I mean, it's taken me a few months, but I can taste more flavor from the water. It's amazing. It's like it adds a sweetness to it. It's really, really weird.
Yeah, definitely. I could taste a little sweetness from sun water when I tried it. And that was leaving it outside basically 2 days, I think it was.
Okay.
But all my glass jars are quart size, and I only did that with a quart size little ball jar. So it's like I said, I'd like to start doing that again, but I need to grab some gallon containers. Where, right now I've got probably 20 quarts of water in my refrigerator cooling off, plus a gallon that just got done at the distiller that I have to put into into jars to throw into the fridge, and that's it's almost constant as far as that. I never thought that I'd be using that distiller multiple times a day and going through so much water that I was still never seemed to be caught up. I mean, I go through a lot of distilled water. So, I don't know. I haven't really kept track lately of how much I'm drinking, but I know it's well over a gallon a day. So.
Yeah. If you're running it twice a day, you're drinking at least a gallon.
Yeah. Well, and then I use distilled water in the coffee maker as well.
Right.
And I started giving my dog distilled water too.
He likes it.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I run my distiller twice a day, but there's 2 of us that drink on it. But I have like a 3-gallon or a 2-gallon jug and a 1-gallon jug. So I have a 3 gallons plus I run the distiller twice a day. So, but I'm actually working on be able to turn the home into, fresh, like a more fresh, energized water from the tap. There's a couple of devices that I've been researching and been using this summer. And there's one more that I plan on, there's 2 more I plan on getting. And then I'm going to release a whole series where I talk about how to convert your house into purified or energized water. And I'm really excited about that because drinking the distilled water, the pure water, that's good. But I noticed that when I was on my long-term fast, I was absorbing a lot of water from the shower and I could feel it like burning my skin. It was really weird. So it made me really, really anxious to clean my water up at home. And I've got a couple different options I'm going to be working out. Some of the systems they're expensive depending on, what's important to you, but well worth it. Well worth it.
Like the osmosis systems or
the thing that costs most is they're not filters, but they're kind of like a filter. They work on a different principle, and there's one that is that's designed for the entire home. So as your main water line comes in, you put this filter in, and then it cleanses the house for the whole home. That one, I'm not exactly sure on the price, but I know it's over $1,000. But it's just a one-time. It's a one-time fee. You buy it one time, there's no maintenance or anything. And then there's a couple other little add-ons that I think I'll be suggesting that you can use by themselves, or you can use them in conjunction with, just to get the water to even a better level. So, but I'll be going into more detail about that when I complete my research on it and I have a good idea of, what's the best option, what's the cheapest option. If you just got money and you don't care, what's the most lavish option? And I'll be like letting everybody know. But it's so far so good. I've seen noticeable changes in my water quality, my skin, my hair, stuff like that. So
that's great.
But well, I guess the last thing that I want to kind of pick your brain on is, from this point forward, because I absolutely plan on doing a follow-up interview with you. Especially, you've been 11 days medication free, you said. So from this point forward, do you plan on changing anything? Are you going to just keep doing what you've been doing? Is there anything that you want to improve on? Like, what's it look like?
From this point forward, for the foreseeable future anyway, I want to keep on the ketogenic diet. Probably stick to roughly the same eating regimen as far as, doing the intermittent fasting along, as I go. It's really funny that I am eating so infrequently and so little food, and yet I have more energy now, like I said, than I've had since I was 16.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just incredible. It really makes you think about how much we were lied to growing up.
Yep.
Because to this day, there are people out there, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
Well, you're never even going to get into ketosis if you make sure to eat breakfast every morning. Make sure you eat a nice big breakfast so that you get some grains and sugar type of stuff in there, so that your body is definitely running on the sugar and not on the preferred. And I believe that ketones are our preferred energy source for our brain, for our body in general. I don't think I would run more efficiently on something that was garbage fuel over running on what I see as what at least my brain and my body's preferred energy source is definitely not sugar.
Right.
I'm not claiming that I can speak for everybody, but I know for a fact that it's just not good for me. And that's easy enough for me to cut out. I wish I knew for a fact if I even could go back and eat sugars like I was eating before without having an issue. Just like I said, I don't know if were all of my seizures due to coming off of that medication. Were they due to me constantly running my body on sugars? There's no way to know, because nobody ever said, hey, let's change one variable and see what happens.
Right.
I thought that's what science was supposed to be for.
Yeah.
And they completely turned their back on the, as far as I can tell, on the whole epileptic community by not even trying to pursue, actual facts. But
Yeah.
just look for statistics, and the statistics that they're looking for are to support, usually to support the study of somebody that's come up with a pill that they say, hey, check this out, and see if it stops people from having a seizure. Oh, they didn't have any seizures at all. It's great. Yeah, it made them want to go and kill somebody. But I'm a big believer in my theory is that the only reason that we have so much of a mental health problem today, I believe, is because they have so many people hooked on pharmaceutical drugs. As they get more and more people onto them, they get more and more people losing their freaking mind. And then they end up doing shootings. And they say, well, it's because he's a gun owner, and he's, and they want to go ahead and scapegoat it, but nobody wants to bring the pharmaceutical companies into it. No.
They got the golden ticket, man.
Medications I read through afterwards, doctors didn't bother telling me, oh, yeah, you might have homicidal and suicidal thoughts. I'm a firearm instructor, Chris.
Oh, wow.
I'm a certified firearm instructor, and so I haven't given any classes in quite a while.
Right.
But I made it pretty clear to them that I'm instructing people on how to properly and safely use firearms and firearm storage and proper use and things of that nature, and that going on to these medications that have these side effects of homicidal thoughts might not be a great idea.
That's crazy.
That was secondary in their minds to making sure that they kept me from having a seizure. And they just, it's a strange mindset. I just can't understand it other than if it's just completely driven by greed and they've just got everybody bought into it. I know people, I just don't know.
Yeah.
But
that greed is huge. Honestly, the doctors, they get caught up in a system where they've gone to school for 6-8 years. They've taken out a huge loan to set up a firm. They've got all this equipment that they had to pay for, and they've got to pay that stuff back. And then the pharmaceutical company comes in with their reps and their samples. Hey, we'll give you 50% on anything you sell, or, whatever kind of deal. And we have all this research that shows this is this and blah, and it'll help this person. So it kind of sounds like a win-win. And the doctors don't bother doing any research on the research that the pharmaceutical companies are putting out there. Some of the doctors know. I know some of them do know, and they choose to do unethical things. There was a doctor who was locked up recently for purposefully giving he was telling people that they had cancer so that they could get chemotherapy treatment. And so they caught him recently, and I think they gave him life in jail. He got like 25 years. But this is the stuff that's happening, and you never know which doctor is really truly trying to help you and which doctor is trying to make a buck. So like you said earlier, we've got to take responsibility for what we consume. We've got to take responsibility for our own health. And at the end of the day, yeah, you could say you were misinformed, but also what did you personally do to learn, to research, to figure out a better way or an alternative? We're turning our brains off and letting other people think for us, and you can't blame anybody else except for yourself for that. So
no, sooner or later you've got to just take responsibility for your life and your health. And you're right, it's extremely easy and especially here in the United States, where we've just been told what we need. You know, make sure you have your 8 glasses of water. That's a good advice. But on top of that, make sure you got your grains in here, and then you need your dairy, and you need your vegetables, and you need your fruits, and you need. But no mention of processed foods. No mention of what we actually need to survive. You know, I'd rather push that you better eat at least this much of this every day, or you are, you know, you just can't live. You know, you just won't make it. And it's like, well, as soon as I stopped following your recommendations, I started feeling a lot better. And that's, like you said, these guys have spent a lot of money on education that has, I don't think, done them any justice either, in the respect that they're not teaching the doctors to actually help people help themselves.
Right.
Kind of like they've set up medication, or they've set up our medical system as a welfare system, basically. And it's, I'll just give it to you, and just take what I give you, and take what I give you, and don't complain, and everything will be just fine. And instead of saying, hey, let me tell you how you can get yourself out of this predicament that you're finding yourself in. And you know, if more people were just willing to work a little bit harder at straightening out their situation themselves, instead of, you know.
It's been amazing talking to you. I feel like this is going to be a huge success. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more and getting another update. I'm thinking maybe a month from now or so, check back in, and you know, see, because if you've gone, you get to the point where you're gone 30 days without having a seizure. I mean, we know that you're absolutely heading down the right road. And I mean, I just can't wait for you to go to your doctor and be like, hey, I've been off the medication for the past month or 2 months or whatever. You know, I haven't had a seizure. And they start scratching their head like, well, running their tests or whatever they do. They're like, well, what have you been doing, you know? And it's like, I just changed my diet and I changed my eating habits. And that's it.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, my sister is the anesthesiology assistant. When I told her, and this was before I ended up having that seizure, I believe, but I told her that, you know, I was already convinced that I'd figured out how to fix myself, basically. And I told her, you know, I want to go back to the doctor so that I can scold them.
Yeah.
And that, well, what's scolding gonna do? Why is that gonna be a help? You know, that's, you know, they're just trying to help. And it's like, well, I understand that they're trying to help, but maybe scold is too harsh a word. But they put me on medications that basically screwed with my livelihood for the last 25 years.
Right.
They fought me tooth and nail about trying anything that was not their prescription.
Right.
They did not have what I believe to be my best interests at heart. Maybe they did, but if they did, they still allowed invasive surgery over even suggesting trying to modify my diet.
Right.
yes, they need to be scolded.
Yeah.
And I'm, she's going to feel bad about that because she's in the healthcare industry, and that's how it is. But it doesn't change the fact that they're not out to work. It doesn't seem like they're out to help as much as they are. It's almost like their whole practice is a great big study that they can point to say, and drugs work because, see my history here, I've had these successes with all these patients. Well, these successes with all these patients, what if they would have started eating right?
Right.
What if, like I said, that ketogenic diet's been around since the 1920s. I haven't even heard of a low carb diet until the last couple of years, and didn't really do enough research on even that until after I got into the water fasting, the water fasting experience, and that bringing me to do my research on ketosis and ketones and those things, which it's life changing. I don't know that my body has actually healed itself, but my body can definitely run on these ketones more efficiently and more beneficially, from what I can see, than anything I was eating before. And with the added benefit of, like I said, I was at 205. After I had that seizure, that following day, I was over at somebody's house that had a scale, and I weighed myself. I was down at 170. So basically, that was less than a week ago. But I don't know if I dropped any more than that or not. I haven't been trying to drop weight at all, though.
Right.
That happened to have it, and now I don't.
Hey, you look good. You look good, man.
Yeah, I feel so much better. So I wanted to thank you for making the videos that you make. I know when I joined your Facebook group, I think there were between 2,000 and 3,000 followers. And that was a little over a month ago. And in the last month, I think you're up over 13,000 now. So water fasting is definitely something that's gaining the attention of people. That, number one, a lot of obese people on your page and stuff, yeah. And that seems to be everybody's main focus, is the weight loss.
Right.
But as far as overall health, getting into it to lose that weight is a great way to get into it. I hope that people will, take the time to research a little bit about what's happening with their body when they're doing water fasting.
Right.
As far as, it producing those ketones and giving your body that alternate source of fuel. And if they do, hopefully more people will get onto that, ketogenic lifestyle, basically. I know it's definitely made a major difference in how I've been feeling. So hopefully, I don't know, 2 months, I guess I dropped 35 pounds accidentally. Intentionally trying to lose the weight, or just without eating the meals that I do eat. I suppose it'd go even faster. But
absolutely.
news for a lot of folks that, you know, and it's so good to see the people that are in your Facebook group don't have that victim mentality, because there are so many out there that have this. It's a complex of some sort, to where I'm only fat because I'm fat because I've got a metabolic disorder.
Right.
I've got a thyroid condition. I've got an excuse to eat a pie. I've got an excuse to eat whatever. And they've never taken it upon themselves to see what would happen if they changed their diet. Instead, they're encouraged by people that tell them, oh, don't you listen to them, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You should be proud of your body.
Yeah.
It's like, you should be proud of your body, but how can you be proud of all of it when it's hundreds, you know, when you've got extra 100 pounds? I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be happy with your body.
Right. It's an education thing. We need, my thing is, I have a solution for you. So if you're overweight and you feel like it's because of A, B, or C, I've got a solution to your problem. Now it's up to you to take that information and implement it. That's why my quote is, the application of knowledge is power, because we don't know, a lot of people don't know what they could do to lose weight. You know, they've been lied to about so many things. So they feel like it just is what it is. But when then somebody comes and tells you, no, you've been lied to, here's the real truth. Now you have the knowledge to change your situation. And if you choose not to, that's on you. And you have to realize that that's your fault at this point in time. So, well, Ken, it's been good talking to you. Thank you for your time. For everybody out there, if you guys are you're the first ones to see this, it's because you're on the Patreon account. I hope you guys enjoyed this first look. Like I said, we'll be bringing Ken back in a month or so, and we'll be seeing his update, and I look forward to that. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to reach out to Ken, I'm sure they can probably talk to you through the Facebook group. Just, you know, you've got some posts and things on there. If you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the Patreon account, where I'll have exclusive videos like this. You'll get the first look. I will be releasing this later on to YouTube later on down the road. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I'll see you guys next week.